Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Teaches English Language. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Cambridge iGCSE Paper 1, but we're going to be focusing entirely on Paper 1F. That's the summary question looking at a new text. Now, the great thing about this particular question is that it's actually repeating a lot of the skills that you've been working on in questions 1A to E. Retrieving information, putting things into your own words. You're going to be doing the same sort of idea, but on a larger scale. So without further ado, let's get practicing. Okay, so question 1F actually introduces a brand new text. Okay, so text A is gone, now we're on to text B. And again, this particular text type is only going to be used for this question. Okay, that's all it is. Now, I'm not going to read this to you. If you watched my video on 1A to E, it's the next in the series, okay, on the doctor paper. But feel free to pause me and have a little read through of everything before we carry on. But I will make reference to parts of these on the next slides. But as always, make sure that you carefully read the blurb, which is this italicized bit there, which is where the exam board is just giving you a little bit of a steer on what's going on. So it's always really, really helpful for context. And then work your way through. And as you're reading, try and read really actively, especially where you've got a longer paragraph, and just in your head, just almost like summarize what you've just read. Like make sure you're taking it in. And if you haven't taken it in, go back and reread it. Okay, so this is the text in its entirety. Now let's look at question 1F. Okay, according to text B, what are the attractions and challenges of being an MSF doctor? So the first thing here is we've got attractions and challenges. So they're actually asking you to look for two things, which I think actually makes it a little bit easier, like to structure. They're not always going to ask you for two opposing things. It might just be one concept, but in this case we've got attractions and challenges. You must use continuous writing, not note form, so don't be bullet pointing your final response. That doesn't mean that you can't make notes, but you've just got to make sure that the examiner can see which bit is the actual written response. And very importantly, use your own words as far as possible, okay? So we'll talk about that in a moment. Your summary should not be more than 120 words. Don't waste time in the exam counting your words. Like if you're 2 over, like don't worry. Obviously, if you write loads more, then the examiners might actually like cut off at a certain point. But don't waste time. Like you kind of like in your practices, figure out how much 120 words looks like in your handwriting and kind of gauge it that way. Importantly, 10 marks are for your content, i.e. the ideas and concepts that you're able to take out of the text. Okay, so you're looking for about 10 different points, but you've got 5 marks for the quality of your writing, so we need to be accurate. Right, let's talk about the process. So I've had a little read through. Some people like to start doing this straight away. Some people want to read it through first of all without doing anything, just to get the gist of it before then starting to mark it up. So because this particular paper is asking for two quite different ideas, things that are difficult and things that are good, are attractive about the job, I'm going to use 2 different coloured pens. But it might be that you use a squiggly line and a straight line, or you might put a number next to a bit, but find a way to break down the 2 types of evidence that you're finding. So for example, this is where I'm starting. So I'm using red to be good because I like the colour red. When were you last abroad? So immediately that is giving me something that's attractive. You get to go away, you get to travel. And then straight away there is a challenge because you're working in high intensity conflicts, and conflicts in this case, we're talking about fighting, we're talking about war, so obviously challenging. Scrolling further down, we've got this little moment here. So the fact that MSF is only for 5 months in a year means that you get to have 2 dream jobs, so getting to do 2 things. So we've got flexibility and more opportunities for someone, so that's obviously a positive. And then another positive, incredible people. Yeah, we get to work with incredible people. Brilliant. Okay, now a negative coming through here, if you notice, that actually, you know, he's talking about how difficult it is to get doctors from other areas in or other supplies, which is why they've had to train up locals, which is a good thing. But he's talking about the fact that there aren't any flights, and because there's ongoing conflict, you can't get people or supplies in. However, it doesn't matter because he's working with some of the best doctors ever, so the highest trained doctors in that area. So again, good, bad, good, bad. Continuing on, okay, so it's less on this section because he's talking here about his past wishes, so it's not relevant to the question, so I'm not marking anything up there. But I am marking this up, less lucrative. Now, if you didn't know what lucrative meant, what you'd need to do is actually look at it in context. So he's talking about the fact that he wanted to be, or forgive me if I get the pronunciation wrong, a cardiothoracic surgeon because you make loads of money. And then the question, but you later switched to emergency medicine, right? Right, less lucrative. So you could possibly work out from the wording and from the way that it's ordered that it means less money. But less money, but hugely rewarding. Okay, and then you've got this little bit here about impartiality, not getting involved in the politics, which obviously means that they're more focused on the work itself. And then finally you get this bit. So he talks about the fact that you usually have your own space, running water and Wi-Fi. So I've coded it this way because obviously when you're there for longer, yeah, having your privacy, having access to clean water, having your Wi-Fi is great. Obviously, that's great. But the fact is you usually have means that sometimes you don't, which is going to be one of the challenges. If you're there for a short time, you're not going to have these, you know, space, water, which is basic necessity, and that connection to the outside world. Okay. And then one final positive, hurrah, people come and cook meals for us. So that's all of my ideas marked up. Now, some people might at that moment start writing. I think this exam is quite generous on timing for you. And so I think you've got time to do a little bit more structured planning. Now, you could, for example, you know, you could go back through your annotations and like number your points to kind of get a structure. You could do that, that might work, but this is a way that a colleague showed me and I really like it. And that is to make a list or a table. So I've separated out, I'm doing attractions first and then I'll do challenges. So here are the things. So I'm just going back through, finding my highlighted, you know, points, and then I'm just jotting them down. You go abroad, the flexible hours in the year, you can do 3 jobs, you work with the best people, in locals and emergency medicine, that it's rewarding, they're impartial to politics, you get great food from the locals, you've got access to Wi-Fi. And then in the challenges, again, just I'm not writing anything out majorly, I'm just jotting it down. Obviously intense conflict, difficulty getting supplies in conflict when there are no flights, less money than traditional medicine, sometimes no Wi-Fi. So you can see immediately that there are way more attractions than there are challenges. So at this moment, what I'm going to do, if I were you, is I'm going to start thinking, right, which bits can I put together? Which bits can I turn into kind of complex sentences? I know that I have to use my own words, so I'm going to start sorting it out in my mind. And then I'm going to have a go at writing a response, taking care to use different words from the text. Now, obviously, there are going to be some moments where you can't change everything, but it's got to be largely. Okay, so here's something that I wrote. There are numerous attractions to being an MSF doctor and only a few challenges. You don't have to work all year, so you can have more than one job that you love. You get to travel the world, but maybe in war-torn countries. Getting support is difficult if flights can't land. However, you will work with amazing medics, including highly trained locals. It pays less than other medicine jobs, but it is very fulfilling. Also, you can get access to Wi-Fi, clean water, and even have a bit of privacy, but this isn't always the case. The food is good, particularly when the locals cook for you. So it's quite concise. That's under 120 words. I don't know, something like 110-ish. But what you're going to do there is you're going to kind of check that through and double check that you've covered enough. Okay, so let's just quickly count it up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I've actually covered 14 different parts of the list that I made up. So you're going to review your work as you go. Super important. So, oh, sorry. Oh, I thought that was just going to click up. So what you're going to do is you're going to review your work. You're going to go back and forward. You're going to double check that you've got enough. If you counted up and you thought, oh, I've only got 8, you need to get to at least 10, preferably a couple more for safety. Go back to your list, tick off as you go almost, and then think about going back. Very important. As soon as you have finished this response and you've checked through your work before you're going on to the next paper, put a big cross through your notes, okay? So that only your continuous writing is there to be marked, all right? What you don't want is for the examiner to see a list and think that's you writing in note form. So put a big smashing cross through it so that they will only mark the continuous writing. Okay, to sum up, top tips. About 20 minutes on this. That means you've done 20 minutes on 1A to E, 20 minutes here. Read the blurb, read the extract super carefully, rereading when you've not taken it in. Highlight or underline relevant info, maybe using some sort of code if they want more than one type of information. Create a table or a list in order to group your ideas together. If for whatever reason you've run out of time, like you got your timing wrong and you're doing this in a bit of a panic and you think, oh, I don't have time to make a list, I just need to start writing, then make sure that when you're going back to your text and you're looking at what you've annotated, you're highlighting, that you are at least grouping sensible things together so that your response is cohesive. But I would recommend doing it this way. More use your own words. Be as concise as you can. You've only got 120 words, so avoid le wafflage or the waffle. Use connectives to make your writing more cohesive. You know, chuck in a however, chuck in a furthermore, to, you know, give your writing that cohesion. Do check for accuracy and grammar. Remember that there are 5 marks awarded for your style of writing and your accuracy of your writing. And the last point, I'm going to say it again, even though I said it only moments ago, cross out your notes, please. Right, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching. Any questions, give me a shout. If you're interested in this series, do subscribe, and also my other videos hopefully will be helpful to you as well. But there are going to be more videos coming your way now on the other parts of the paper, and then eventually paper 2. So keep your eyes peeled. That's it. Thank you again. Happy revising.